Apparently, the priests of ancient Israel did not always offer their sacrifices correctly. In fact, that's what happens at the beginning of this week's Torah portion, Parashat Shmini. Aaron, the high priest, Moses' brother, has several sons. The two eldest, Nadav and Avihu, offer a misbegotten sacrifice. God is so incensed that God sends a fire that consumes them. They die instantly. And Aaron's response to the death of his sons is silence. He doesn't say a word. Some interpret Aaron's silence as acceptance of God's will. God has made a judgment, and Aaron accepts it. Others judge Aaron harshly and say he's indifferent even to the loss of his own sons. Still others suggest that Aaron really has a problem with what God has done, but as a leader of the people, he needs to display piety in front of the people, so he retains his silence in that moment. Rabbi Jonathan Krauss, writing in the Musar Torah commentary, suggests a different explanation for Aaron's silence, and one that might be instructive to us in our own current difficult situation. There is yet another way, Rabbi Krauss writes, to understand Aaron's silence. Perhaps Aaron's silence might have been a practice of mindfulness and an attempt at communion with God in the face of tragedy. Perhaps Aaron needs silence and stillness because he is desperate to find some way to reconnect with his own soul, with those around him, and even with God. Aaron takes refuge in his silence because it is the only spiritual tool with which he can meet the terrible anguish of his grief, the only way to honor the pain he feels for himself and his family. In his silence, Aaron might find a way to hold that suffering while still remaining open to noticing that even if that overwhelming flood of sorrow is undeniably true at the moment, it is not his whole truth. So much of what Rabbi Krauss writes might describe the way that many of us feel right now at this time of global pandemic and financial crisis. We don't know what the future holds for any of us individually, for our nation, for the world. We might feel tempted to scream out at God. Maybe even there's a moment at which that's healthy. But the truth is that the pandemic and the financial issues really do not constitute our whole reality. They are part of our reality for sure, but we have lives, homes, families, all of us, even if things have changed, many things are the same. We have deep resources from which to draw from our full realities and not only the difficult reality of the moment. Perhaps taking a moment of silence helps us to contemplate our circumstances, to recognize what's good in the world, what remains positive in our lives, and to meditate on what's really painful and hurtful to us at the same time. Perhaps, like Aaron, we can utilize silence, again in Rabbi Krauss's words, as a spiritual tool with which we can meet the terrible anguish of this moment in which we find ourselves. And from that silence, may we find calm, reassurance, and hope for a better future. Shabbat Shalom.